it's Shabes, and welcome to another edition of AniTube Digest, where we go over the best and not so best anime YouTube videos to come out this week, from the 1st of March to the 8th of March. And first for the video that I thought was not good. I couldn't get my head right, couldn't get behind it. Not the biggest, it was kind of. It's from this guy RyanStorm, and I've seen this guy around. Had like an Ava video a while ago and got kind of popular and stuff. But like I don't even know if I watched that video. But there was just something about there's just something about his channel that is, I don't know. I can't really describe it. I'm sorry. But this video is, why does my son want to fuck cartoons? 18 plus. I think he's generally trying to talk about kind of sexuality with anime and manga, I guess, and start a lot of the bulk of the video is talking about the attractiveness of maids and why that became kind of a trend in Japan. Although he doesn't really cite any sources exactly, he's just kind of observing that Mahoromatic came out in 2001. That's around where it started. And He Is My Master in 2004. He mentions offhand there's this one store owner in Akihabara who wanted that thing. And I don't know if that was conjecture on his part, if that was something he genuinely looked into. And it definitely, at least it didn't have any particular malice or like is indignation the right word? Judgment on it didn't seem like it had that exactly. But like my big problem with this vid was like it's really all over the place and unfocused. I think was the big takeaway for me. It takes like 3 minutes to start to be like, what are you talking about? Which is a lot of time. He just kind of jumps into it and just starts rambling about stuff. And I mean, he starts with a kind of a framing device of like this one shot from a show. I don't even think he says what it's from. I don't even know what it just kind of starts talking about it. And it's like, oh yeah, there's some Gainax characters I recognize. Who knows what Abenobashi is and things like that. And I'm like, what is this a stream of consciousness of some sort? But it's not particularly engaging or funny in that regard. To me, at least. Nothing again. Some people might like that, and it's fine. But it just felt very weird and unfocused and a bit sloppy at points. It felt like there was a lot of tangents and meandering and repetitive, like he's kind of looping back on some points later on in the video. Feels very all over the place and hard to focus on. And you're just kind of sitting there like, what is this? What are you trying to say here? And the kind of points he's making here where it's like why people might fall into this this pattern of like jacking off to 2D girls and things like that, and not seeking out a relationship, watching romance anime by yourself in a dark room, or he has like Lane playing while he shows Karikano clips and things like that. It's weird. He's using a bunch of different shows, like He Is My Master. I thought He Is My Master would have been a good central framing because he's kind of, there's a chunk of I couldn't even say there's a part of the video, or like it just feels like a patchwork of things. It was very hard to pin down one thing about it, but like I felt like if he used He Is My Master specifically and really talked about it, using that to launch all of his other points that he wanted to make in this video, because I get that it's more of an amorphous topic, and he's basically at the end he's just trying to get more serious, and like there's more to life than being attracted to fictional characters or something, the kind of the age-old message, I guess. And I think he's trying to be uplifting, but it comes off very overbearing and a little pretentious, and maybe that's out of passion and he's just very like, look, you don't whatever, but I don't think he sells the audience and takes you all the way through that. I think it feels like a rant, and very like stream of consciousness and talking out of your ass at points. just the way that it's. I don't necessarily have any problem with the content that he's saying here. I just think the way all of it's framed, the video making process, all of this and the clips that you're showing, it's very all over the place. It's Here's My Master. It's Heaven's Lost Property. It's Karikano. It's Lane. It's a lot of stuff, and I don't 100% mind when creators kind of use that patchwork of different shows that they're kind of in their consciousness or they think about a lot, or how they want to visualize this particular thing. But like, it just felt very all over the place for this particular subject, I think. Without any self-awareness. That's the other thing. I would say that like this all feels very intentional or like oblivious to how confusing this is. Because I think about like my Lupin video where there's a chaos factor to it, and it's switching in the middle of sentences and from point to point. But there's a lot of visual and audio indicators that are showing there's a back and forth there. There's an intention behind it, but this feels very vague, and I just felt like using this stuff for a while, or like there doesn't seem to be a whole arching loophole, or things don't connect, I guess. It just feels very all over the place. And yeah, unfocused, I guess, is what I would mainly say about this. Yeah, it's if my critique here is very sloppy and all over the place, I feel like it's in part because that's what it was like watching this video. I didn't think it was very good. Again, it has nothing to do with the points that he's saying. I think it's cool that he's like, hey, go out there, you'll mess up. Oh, well, he was also using Toradora and a lot of random stuff. It wasn't as obnoxious editing as something like Breadsword, where he's using a clip for every little chunk of sentence he says, very synced like this, like that kind of editing. It wasn't that obnoxious, but it just felt very like, what? Kind of all over the place, I suppose. I've used that way too many times. I'm sorry. Yeah, I think, again, I don't have much problem with the points he's making here, but the presentation, I think, it's also just not that funny, but that's just I try to put that to the side. It's like, it's not good because it's not funny. It's like, that's a very subjective thing on my part, and that's something I can like critique as be funnier. You know what I mean? It's nothing like that. It just, yeah. It ends in it, but it's something I should mention, because like if it was funny, I'd mention it, and probably, I'd probably take a little more enjoyment out of it, but it is what it is. I got another request video from Nicholas, wanted me to talk about a video from me from a couple years ago now. The Fukumoto aesthetic, talking about Tonegawa, specifically the manga, before the anime had come out, and talking about using that as a framing device to describe Fukumoto's, the author, his general aesthetic for Kaiji, Akagi, and all these other things, and what makes it so distinctive and effective. And it's not simply the character designs, it's his use of Zawa, his like metaphors, the way he structures his stories and things like that. His dialogue, a lot of the dialogue. And I'm very happy with the video. I did rewatch it. I am happy with it. Although this rewatch in particular, there was something about it that like I felt a little less of. I feel like there are definitely aspects of this video that I could be doing a lot more efficiently, a lot more less headache inducing. There's certain things that I remember doing that I used to get to this certain effect that I'm like, you could have just done this, and certain things that's like, why didn't you spend more time on this thing, but like, why didn't you keep on this idea or this subject and use that, get more utility out of the things that you're crafting here, instead of like the little 2-second thing that you use it for. Very quick sort of jokes like that. I mean, I admire it, but it seems wasteful to me. I see it now as wasteful, even though I still kind of technically still do that in a lot of I'm trying to have that recognition in myself and be like, look, you're killing yourself here. And my old self would probably be like, oh, but I made it in a week. Or, yeah, you took literally all week. You didn't do anything else that week. I remember. That was all you did, that video. That you probably worked a month's work or 2 months work into that video based on how much you worked on it. Anyway. And yeah, I think that none of that's to take away from the points that I'm making here. I think it's all great and valuable. I'm very, very happy I made it. And the way that I made it with the structure, with focusing on that first chapter. God, the fucking audio. It peaks, man. I feel like I think it was because I was so excited that I got a good script, that I had way too much energy in this video. And like, there's a couple like, first chapter, there's a couple like delivery things that I wish I would do differently. I wish I would just do another take, please. But the thing is, back then I would never do another take of unless you could not understand me or there was some problem with it. Unless there was something drastically could not, like, unusable basically. But otherwise, I would always use the one take I record because of my setup at the time. Now it's all connected, so like I can re-record things very quickly. So I'm much more anal about it now. I think personally. But man, God, the narration's a little rough. Personally. Man, there's a lot of really cool effects and stuff, and I totally forgot the idea of using blurs on manga to kind of increase, to make like a depth of field type of thing. And there's some moments that look really cool, but the problem with a lot of it, what sucks is I'm using those as backgrounds, but then I'm showing things on screen that are obscuring those really cool things, or they go off screen way too quick. Like there's certain, like, I'm like, just use the one thing. Or like the fucking Akagi, the hell bar, I took so long making that like really cool looking, and then all I do is put these like generic fucking panels on top of it. You can't enjoy it. Or you put like Akagi in the corner or whatever, and I guess he's trying to shrink or whatever, but like there's certain things about it that was like, you're obscuring your hard work. You know what I mean? You have to show it in the way that like people will see it and appreciate it. And there are economic ways of doing some cool stuff that won't take you very long, but will look cool in the long run, and people can enjoy them in such a way, whatever. Yeah, I'm just more critical of myself now, I guess. And I'm happy I am, I guess. Yeah, like I know I used a lot of Photoshop, not Photoshop, but like Pixlr, the app that I use now, to export those as like PNGs and remove the background and stuff like that, when I definitely could have used like masks or crops in Premiere itself. I almost did. I don't think I used any masks in this video. I don't think at all. Yeah, it was all manga stuff. So I was like, why don't I just make it a PNG? So I ended up just having a bunch of like, and I remember having to very painstakingly move stuff into place and things like that. I feel like I've just gotten better at Premiere at this point, that I'm able to do this stuff a lot more efficiently, I guess. At least I think so. Or yeah, I'm more I got this out of my, I can't just pop in. I can't just cut. There's no like hard cuts. I really hated hard cuts in my videos. I think this one is similar, where it doesn't have any hard cuts. It just kind of, things move out of frame or into frame, and transitions, a lot of transitions in that way. I didn't even know what a adjustment layer zoom was either. Not like any of that either. So things would manually move in and out of screen all the time. There was the mentality I developed with my Berserk video, and then into how to anime specifically cemented it for a long time for me. And it wasn't, I think it was my Gurren Lagann video where I got really sick of like having to have an aesthetic for my videos. Like I used the footage with the fancy BG in the back one too many times with the Megalobox and Ojima Doremi. And then the Dazaki series having, out of necessity, being very economic, as well as doing Core's 1989 series, where I dialed back my style a lot. It made me realize, like, oh, I can still make really cool stuff and enjoyable stuff, without killing myself. um, yeah, and I think I'm hoping that in the future, like after the summer, I'm hoping to have plans where my videos are way less ambitious. Not that they're worse. I still want to make the occasional really grand, cool, big video. If there's a subject that I think really deserves it. There's one that I've discovered lately that I really want to do as that. But a lot of the points that I want to make as a video, I really just want to make it like a 5-minute thing, and it's just one point and you're done kind of deal. But making an aesthetic experience, play some cool music from some OST they hadn't experienced before, make an experience, tailored and everything, but quick and like regular. You know what I mean? I kind of want to try to do that. But yeah, this was this. I'm still very proud of this video, mostly for the content. I think the style is ambitious and good, and there's a lot of cool shots individually that I love. But there's points where I'm like, it's such a. You can see like the edges of white or whatever, like in Photoshop or whatever. It's not clean, or the resolution is only so much, so you have to zoom in and it just doesn't look good at points. So yeah, there's things about it that I'm like, but thank you for requesting my own video, I guess, so I was able to talk about myself, because I love talking about me all the time. Yeah, thank you. Okay, now for some videos that I thought were decent, pretty good. And the first one I want to shout out, No Name Weeb has a AniTuber contest happening right now. It's only for 2 weeks. It's very brief. They announced it on the 4th, and it'll go to the 18th. And basically, it doesn't really give you what it is in the title or anything. It's just an AniTuber contest. It's like, okay, what? But what it is he wants us to submit anime YouTubers or anybody, and it's like I told him to like, because he approached me about this, and I was like, you should really just open it to anybody, and because I mean, people at AniTuber, right? Because anybody can be an anime YouTuber. They just have to upload videos about anime on YouTube. That's it. So if they upload video by that virtue. Anyway, the idea is to submit a anime premise, basically come up with your own premise for an anime, and then No Name we would have like a live stream and stuff and talk about it, and his audience and the various people that are congregated there can kind of discuss them and have a good time and maybe choose the best one and things like that. But it just seems like a collaborative kind of like fun thing to do. There's no other restrictions or anything in terms of what you could write about, but it's submitting an anime premise. There's other details there obviously in the video, of course, so check that out. But yeah, I'll probably submit it, but it's hard for me to think in those terms. I usually think too closely about it, and like, oh, that's too similar to this show or whatever. And I haven't exercised that part of my brain for a while. So, but yeah, I'll probably try something like that. It'll be a fun creative challenge. Yeah, pretty cool. So, I checked out the Gigguk video, which Pause and Select had a thread kind of talking about his problems with it, and the video is, I used $1 million AI to prove light novel titles are dumb. I mean, for one thing, I think it's $1 million AI on technicality, because it's using technology that I guess is $1 million, but it was made by one of his patrons, who works in AI with this particular software. So he's able to make this AI that generates, and I really like that Gigguk showed the actual interface and didn't just try to make a whole thing out of it. I like that he showed him that, and it was in the notepad, and he was reading them live. That whole section where which is like the bulk of the video actually, where he's kind of like discovering what the AI could make and reacting to them and putting like his name and other people's names in and stuff, and him reacting to the titles that would come up was really fun. That's actually kind of the bulk of the enjoyment of the video. If you're following Trash Taste and like these guys' personality and like their entertainment value, and nothing to do with their platform and who they are as content creators on this platform, If you take that separate from it, I think it's a fun video. I think it's enjoyable. The quiz at the end, it ended up being much longer. So I guess it's gonna be a separate upload somewhere, Trash Taste or something. I don't know. But like that's with Joey and Connor in the studio. And he's showing that he's making a quiz out of it. Basically, it's like which of these titles is real or not real. And I was worried at that point in the video of like, careful of like kind of like taking a dump on some of these light novel titles and stuff where it's like, yeah, you can ridicule them and whatever, but like it might not be putting them in the best light depending on how you frame them and roast them, whatever. But actually it was that part of the video wasn't so bad to me personally, as I've seen it in other videos which are very dismissive and critical for no reason and kind of so I mean, I really don't know if he needed to title it to prove light novel titles are dumb. I really don't know if you needed to call it that. And the thing that Pause and Select had a problem with was that there's a reason that they're this long, and there's history behind this. There's an entire industry behind this, and it's a lot like YouTube. Apparently, from my understanding of it, the reason they're so long is to distinguish each other from each other, because a lot of them are covering similar ground and similar topics, but their unique hook is the one thing. So it's a lot like YouTube. It's like a YouTube title where some of these are really attention grabbing, and sometimes they can be really dumb and ridiculous. But we don't roast all. It wouldn't be like to prove YouTube titles are dumb. Like there's a utility behind them. I feel like people would agree. And there are some times where it goes crazy or over the top or out of control. But that's the industry, and that's the competitive market that they're in. It's very lucrative too, because this is it's a hot industry at the time at this moment. So I mean, I feel like if Gigguk had enough time in this video to explain the AI and what it is and how it works, which he does for a good chunk of it actually, which I liked, I appreciated. It's not just this mystical, whatever, and he's just trying to make you laugh with if it was just like a string of the AI generated titles, I don't think it would have been as entertaining. But I liked the kind of the insight that Gigguk's showing here. But then you could have used that exact same insight to kind of generally talk about, maybe like even for a minute or two, why these titles are the way they are. And you have a really big platform that I think would help with distinguishing that. And like, that doesn't mean you like, I think there are points of ridicule. It doesn't mean that they should be, to say that like, oh, you should explain what these are, doesn't mean they're exempt from ridicule. I think it could be funny to kind of be like vending machine, right? Because it is a little crazy and weird, but you have to be careful not to go too far with it. And it does come off as very exoticism, little Orientalist, right? It just has this bad. It has that oh, you Japan, oh, weird Japan kind of thing, and that is way too prevalent and very stereotypical and not a great look overall. I do think that it's nice that Gigguk mostly just kind of focuses on the AI and what it produces, and he's not so much focusing on the ridicule of the titles, but I get people having problems with it. Overall, I think it was a fun video. Fun video. I will also say it was cool to see Gigguk making a video where he is mostly present the entire time. There are obviously some videos on his channel where that's the case, but I think this was the first time where he had a green screen. He may have had other ones beforehand, but like this felt like he definitely could have been taken out of the video for certain points, but he decided to stay in the video, and he does like green screen, like Nakey Jakey type stuff. I mean, this sounds familiar to me as I'm saying it out loud, so I feel like he may have done this already. So maybe I'm just missing it, but like, I don't know. I thought that was a neat point for his growth as a creator, showing his influences a little bit too. But yeah, I get why people have problems with it, and It gets me a little weary of it too. And it's like, yeah, you definitely had room in this video to at least be like, hey guys, like these are legit, this is this is the site that they're from, and you don't have to make it all about that, but I don't know, just kind of like the make it make it a little as a little informative, a little more, I suppose. I don't know. I guess it was just desiring more from it. I guess could have been done. It could have been executed better, I suppose. I checked out Best Guy Ever's Winter 2021 anime More or Less, which like on the surface it's like, oh, it's kind of like Gigguk's in a nutshell videos. But I would say this particular video reminded me a lot more of Baron J's seasonal roundups. I don't know if he called them that. I forget. But his, Baron J seasonal videos where he kind of has like the title in the corner and then just rattles off one thing about the show and then moves on very quick, and he's just riffing on them, I guess, and making the jokes. And it's fun. I like Nate's sense of humor in some of these. But some of the, some of it's just like, yeah, I guess. Like it didn't like reinvent, and like it wasn't blowing my mind or anything like that, and wasn't like super amazing, enjoyable type of deal. But I think that's fine. You could tell that's kind of the stakes at which he has that video at. It's like, yeah, it's just the thing I wanted to make, kind of deal. I like the at the end where he's like, thank you for watching my silly video, things like that, and kind of holding it loosely, I think is cool. It's good to see from Nate, at least, because that's always the thing that I've kind of noticed about him, where it's a difference between holding a project or a video very tightly and having very specific control over it and going all out with it, versus holding something loosely and it's like, yeah, I'll just put it out one take or like a couple pass over and loose and fun, I suppose. Now that the other side isn't fun, of course it is, and I think his charisma carries in both cases, but I think there's a difference in intensity when it comes to, and a lot of people like Nate for the high intensity stuff, which I can understand. But I am happy he's finding comfort and pushing himself in terms of making this low. It's not as focused stuff, because it's I talked about with the patron request video I just did, where I'm hopefully gonna go in that more direction, but like I don't know, a little more narrow focused instead of like loosely focused. I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm sorry. I liked the video though. I finally am talking about another BennettTheSage video. I always check out the videos like, oh, maybe I'll talk about this one, and then like I just check out. I'm just like, I don't care. I don't know what it is. He hasn't been able to talk. He hasn't talked about something that I'm like really engaged with in a way, and I'm not so much engaged with the subject of this one as I am with how he's doing it. He had mentioned this on Twitter, etc., and then at the beginning of the video, where his script for this episode got corrupted, so like a week's worth of it, and in order to get it out on time, he decided to do it live. It's unscripted. I don't know if this is the first time he's done this, but it's certainly one of the rare times he's done this. And I actually liked it more for being unscripted, because there's something about his way of writing that from watching this video I realized, I guess. I never really put it into words with his previous stuff. I never noticed it, I guess. But there was something very clinical and formal, not formulaic, but a little fashioned, perhaps, maybe. That it doesn't feel as like spontaneous, off the cut. It feels very planned and safe and in one lane. And here's the thing I want to focus on, and translates to this thing. And that's the typical essay type, with YouTube videos and things like that. And people are there all the time, and they're comfortable there, and that's fine. But there's something really interesting and bold about saying things and then restructuring it in such a way, lapping it with some anime clips and things, and structuring it in such a way that makes it kind of cohesive and interesting. And I think it came off pretty well here, actually. I don't think he went as hard on this OVA as I think he would have been if he was writing this and had very sharp, here's where I'm going to hit it, here's where I'm going to roast it for this moment or whatever. But here he can't necessarily do that, So he has to kind of like, it's the first things that come to his mind basically, and him describing it and things that stick out to him. And there was something about it that just felt more clear focused about it, instead of doing it that other way, which feels very rigid and on the tracks. And it's not like on the rails. We're not like this is off the rails. I mean, it technically is, but it's more like not out of control off the rails in a way. It's more like going off-road vehicle versus like a highway or something. And there's an appeal and a fun attribute to doing it off-road, right? It's kind of what it feels like to me. Observing these two styles of his in particular. Bookie's Angels, this particular one that he talks about sounds really interesting with this particular third episode turn, and apparently it's the 250th episode next time, and also the 10-year anniversary of him doing this show, which is crazy. So that's exciting, and I'll obviously check it out. I'm not sure I'll talk about it, but that'll certainly be interesting if there's some grand retrospective thing or something, or if it particularly slaps. I don't know. But I liked this as a departure for him, and I thought it turned out pretty well. It was good. Okay. And now what I thought were the best videos of the week. Things that I thought were the best of the week, in my opinion. First one's from Joji. She put out this gorilla will die in one day, and it's the author of Tokyo Ghoul making like a very quick one shot, I guess. Like the first chapter is 4 coma, and the other chapter is just one panel each. Like there's 3 chapters, and there's one panel each of those. So it's only, you could literally show the entire manga in one screen, and she does that. I noticed. You know what I noticed? The music sounded familiar. And then I checked out your Novid video, and yeah, it's the same track. I'm like, oh, I see what's going on. And it was the same background too, with this really nice wood finish that's animated and looks really, really nice. I see what's going on. I like that, actually. Something sort of consistent and talking about a different subject, but in the same tone and vein and vehicle, I guess. The whole aesthetic of this video is similar to the Novid one. And it's similar in the way that, like, she's talking about a very, very obscure manga that probably doesn't have a video on it at all. I don't know if anyone's made a video about this. And I don't know how, like, I like how completely straight she plays it the whole time, because I get the whole thing. I saw this at first, I'm like, aha, monkey, aha, return to monkey kind of thing. Because I know, like, at least in the Discord and stuff, she's been, yeah, and there's other people going in the comments too. But I like that she played it pretty straight here, and it didn't feel very satirical. I actually can't get sarcasm very well. So if this was supposed to be like just a joke, and just whatever, I can't tell. So I won't make any assumptions. I don't know if it sounded serious to me, and I like that personally. But there's always that background. It's like, is this a joke? I don't know. But I think it's great. I really like the video. I like the vibes. I like there's a consistency going on there. That makes it kind of exciting. It's like, oh, maybe do some more of these. I think that'd be kind of cool. So a regular type of content. I don't know. I like it. I kind of dig it. I liked the Scamboli video. I really did a good deal. You will watch Hellsing Ultimate. It's another one of his regular reviews, but it's not split into characters that are, very rigidly like it is. And he does a little bit of anime deprecation like his older videos in this, but he does mostly focus on how cool Hellsing is, well, being honest about his things that he didn't like about it, with the particular some of the dialogue and how long it goes on in certain aspects like that, picking out some certain moments that he notices and things like that. But I like how much like genuine enjoyment he was demonstrating in this video of like, oh, I like this guy, how he talks, and oh, this guy's cool, and the monkey brain analogy type of thing. And there's a nice energy and humor to this. I like that he's talking about ultimate of all, like there doesn't seem to be any very transparent, like, oh, I'm going to talk about Redo of Healer, which is that video is doing well for him. And I'm happy he's actually calling out on crap on that one. I haven't seen it, but like that was cool. But like there's something about talking about seasonals that gets me as like, oh yeah, you're just because you know. But Hellsing Ultimate seems like very random and sudden, and I think that's really cool. Like seeing that for him. I thought the length was good. It didn't feel very long winded and like, oh god, when is this ending kind of thing. I liked it. It was really good. Somebody pointed me towards this channel, Religion for Breakfast, talking about is Miyazaki inspired by Shinto, and discussing how yes, there are Shinto elements in these movies, to the point where some people are arguing, specifically for Spirited Away, that it is actively trying to endorse Shintoism, and like some people have become Shinto practitioners themselves from watching his movies. But they bring up this Miyazaki quote where he's like, I did not have that intention or anything like that. And they taste like so they're like, oh, what can we take from that, and what can we see in his other films? And it seemed very varied, with like talking about multiple films of his without like it didn't feel very regimented. Let's talk about Nausicaa. Let's talk about this show. You know, it felt very generalized and kind of but well read in general. I thought he had very cool, very interesting sources, like, you know, seeing from different people, and yeah, different sources. It felt very well researched and level headed and well made, I thought. I really liked this video. I'm not sure. I'll be interesting to see what Pauses like thinks of it, actually. I don't know if anyone wants to send him his way for a reaction vid or something. I don't know. I thought that'd be interesting as a, I don't know why specifically Joe or anything, but yeah, I don't know. Just something that I thought of. But yeah, I enjoyed this video a good deal. I will say that a lot of it's similar with lots of videos like this that kind of just go over my head. From when I was seeing it, I was like, yeah, I do like this a lot, and it's well produced. So it's something that I'm like, hey, yeah, guys, you probably check this out. Pretty cool. You know what else is cool about it was that, you know, I'm not the most spiritually active person. I do follow Christ, but like, I don't put it out there so much, and I liked that from him. And he does address in the video where a lot of people are kind of adverse to the word religion or institutionalized religion, and he acknowledges Miyazaki's kind of seemingly disdain for institutionalized religion. He doesn't want to be roped like it's Shinto, it's this and this and this. But it's the interesting dichotomy of like, but people are still attracted to his films for those reasons. And it's spiritually minded, but it's not trying to be happy science. They actually bring up happy science in this video and talking about how that is straight up trying to convince you and propagandize, if that's the right word. I don't know why I mentioned that specific. Oh yeah, so like the reason I mentioned that is I really like that being the channel that it is, Religion for Breakfast. It's not endorsing any one religion. It's not trying to preach to you or anything like that. It's very clear mind. I guess clear mind is, I don't know if that's the right word. It's just very straight shooting, and it's like, this is what it's doing. And yeah, I really respected it for that, and appreciated that. And it was a very enjoyable watch for, I would think, for education purposes, or for people who practice this either way. I think it's great. Yeah, awesome. I finally checked out a video from StrucciMovies. StrucciMovies, yeah. So they actually checked out my Lupin video, and we followed each other, so that was cool. And so they are talking about Lupin the First review and analysis. They're talking about the movie. I really liked their review of this, actually, because it felt very thorough without it feeling like this is my review or now, or like going through the plot or something. Because like the plot is very simple in this movie. You really don't need it. It's not the shining aspect of this movie. I think it's, if you're a Lupin fan, I think there's a lot of cool stuff. And I like this is coming from a very big Lupin fan, how they kept talking about Mamo and Cagliostro and other Lupin anime they experienced. I really appreciated that as someone who has consumed all of it. The point they made about Alcatraz, I was like, yeah, that did happen. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, but like I thought that was really cool. I like that it just felt very freeform, informative, from a Lupin fan. Not very super biased one way or another. Well thought out with their points, with like, oh yeah, the dub of this and that and the other thing, um, and the caveats of like, look, I like the manga UK dub for Cagliostro and things like that. It felt like very well read of from a Lupin fan in that way, without coming off too like, guys, I'm a big Lupin fan, okay? You know what I mean? Which I appreciated. Um, yeah, and that was cool to see. And they had some copyright problems with this vid, so they had a lot of inventive ways to circumvent it with like stills and having it in different colors and things like that. And that's a tough challenge. So I sympathize greatly with that sort of thing. But I really enjoyed it. It didn't feel like 27 minutes, and it's another Lupin video that I thought was really good. Check it out, guys. It's nice. And then the last thing I'm going to talk about, well, I will say it was my favorite thing to listen to. It is a podcast with animebackwhen and Bob Samurai. And there's animebackwhen is coming from the perspective of a longtime fan of his, and he really asks Bob a lot of questions about his creative process, what it was like back then when he was starting out, asking advice of like, where was that turning point of like, from uploading videos on YouTube where it only get like a couple of tens of views, when like maybe one or two comments, to something more regular. What was that transition for Bob? And Bob actually really talking very clear-headed about, I don't know why I keep using that word today. It's the word of the day, apparently. Very honestly and openly about his journey with YouTube, and how he got very burnt out with, I think it was around the LGH review, and started looking at it more critically. And I really respected the things he was saying. How it's like I didn't really appreciate what I had at the time, because I kept focusing on what's the next video, what's the success. He was just in the tunnel. He was just on the treadmill of YouTube. And when he kind of unhooked himself from it, because he realized he wasn't happy with it, and he was also not doing great monetarily in that way. He's like, I have to do something else. I really like the honesty there, and then he's been back recently. I watched his Kaiji video, and it's just a general review of Kaiji. I didn't have too much to say about it actually, but I liked it, and so that was cool. But him talking about that, and also the geeking out that him and animebackwhen had about collecting, and their experiences with that was really great. You learn a lot more about animebackwhen as well. Of kind of like what his motivation is of starting, his process of making videos. And I think that was really valuable to me. It was just not like I was like, I need to know more about it, or nothing like that. But I think that it's like, oh, I did not know about that. And it's like, wow, that's interesting. And I can respect that, and approach that going on in the future and stuff. I really, really liked this. I'm very happy animebackwhen did this. It also reminded me a lot of AniTube Tea, where I have conversations with other YouTubers once a month. That's exclusive on my Patreon. But yeah, it was really wonderful listening to this. Very chill time. I will say the rest of this particular digest was one of those that I was like, yeah, it's a week. I wasn't like super excited about it this time around. But this one was like a really real joy, and I was like, okay, that was nice. Thank you. So that was great. Great job. Thank you for doing that. I really liked that conversation, especially if you guys are like, if you were fans of Bob way back then, sort of deal. I think this was especially really awesome and great to see. Yeah, good stuff. Well, that'll do it for this edition of AniTube Digest. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you to my patrons, including Austin, Boo, Kuiper, My Anime Pod, Najbeb, Nicholas, Saxon, Unique Nemosaurus, Victor, and Yellow Cheese. You guys are great. You have a great week. Yo, peace.